Welcome back, my friends. Welcome back. Scotty the Trucker, or old CPAP face himself, is back talking to you. Let's see, I'm just about almost to New Mexico, which is where I'm delivering in a little while. All right, today, what I wanted to talk about, I had been saying that kind of my path forward, I think, on this channel is going to be to go backwards. It's going to be going back to the beginning and kind of rehashing my journey. For those of you who are seeing me for the first time, I'm about 4 years into my trucking career at Prime, and I'm just coming off kind of a year-long plus hiatus where I was training back to back and just couldn't really find the time or energy for, whoop, my phone is wanting to tilt on me. Time or energy for YouTube, unfortunately, but I'm trying to be back. I'm trying to do things a little more regularly, and my thought is, you know, since I'm coming back, it's possible maybe the algorithm will be nice to me, and maybe I'll start gaining, you know, a whole new slew of people that are either in trucking, new to trucking, or thinking about coming out to do some trucking. So this is more or less for them. Hopefully those of you that have been with me a while will still enjoy it. But what I'm going to do is go back to the beginning, from the point where I just started thinking, just the inkling came into my mind about trucking, and now I've got 4 years to look back on and kind of let you know what things were, you know, right, wrong, silly of me to be thinking, that kind of thing, and just give you a little bit of hindsight. So going back, I guess introductions again, if I've got, hopefully get some new people that find these videos where I go back. My name is Scott or Scotty. I go by either. I've been in trucking for 4 years, as I said, at Prime. My background, I guess it seems like, I guess it's kind of like maybe I won't say unique, but a rare move. I didn't move into trucking until, you know, 49 years old. And I come from more of a, I guess, white collar background. I have a bachelor's in psychology, and I had a more or less a 20-year career in various types of mental health, disabilities, that kind of thing. Started off working with autistic children, moved into intellectual disabled children, then made the jump to mental health, worked with a lot of kids that suicidal or dealing with some severe mental health issues, and working with the families and things like that. Very rewarding. I moved up the career ladder in that field up to the point where I couldn't stand it anymore. I think a lot of people kind of hit that, you know, they get into a career they enjoy, and each level it's nice to be moving up, but for me, I enjoyed it right up until I got to the top, and I just I wasn't happy anymore. Without getting into too much detail, both internal at the agency I was at and external, I was on the leadership team. It just got a little cutthroat for me. I didn't enjoy, you know, my days being spent arguing and fighting and, you know, trying to figure out who's backstabbing me now and what clique is formed. It was kind of like it was kind of like Survivor, the television show, you know, constantly forming alliances against this or that, and I just got really tired of it. External to that, you know, we did mostly Medicaid and, you know, government-funded programs, and this was in the age of COVID when I made this decision, and it just, the world went topsy-turvy, and there was no level of service, of the service industry that I was happy with. So anyway, hopefully that's a good enough nutshell version of just miserable in my job. And finance to be that miserable and to, you know, making a good living. I made about $75,000 a year there, salary. Doing pretty well that way, but as most of you, if not all of you, know, the world has changed. I'm a Gen Xer. Grew up probably in the best time in the world to grow up as a child, 80s and 90s, that kind of thing. But I think a lot of us are feeling a little lost in this world right now. I certainly was, and to some extent still am, you know. Just the world got a hell of a lot more expensive for us than it did for previous generations. And, you know, we can talk about inflation, but it's not just inflation, it's technology You know, I often look back at, you know, what a phone bill cost in the early 80s, late 70s versus now. And I'm not talking about inflation. I'm just talking about, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have internet. You know, everything is just exponentially more expensive. And the end result was it doesn't seem to matter how much you make. You're just lucky if you can get your bills paid. And my family and I, we wanted to have a little more fun and just stop the struggle. You know, we were, you know, making our bills, but every month it was tight. So I started thinking, again, if you want more detail, I'm not going into as much detail as I did the first time around because it's there. If you want to go back to the beginning and get a little more detail on what was going on with me, go back, I think it's episode 1. I think I was sitting there in my house and went through in probably more detail than you want about, you know, kind of the things going on in my life. But anyway, I cannot say what the first moment why I started thinking of trucking. I've always heard, you know, trucking is, you know, a good living. I've always heard, you know, to me, long haul truckers made a lot of money. And I'm sitting there, I kind of had a choice. I couldn't move up anymore in my agency. I was at the top of that, so there wasn't the promise of, you know, a lot of raises and that kind of thing. The only thing that would have made me more money, and this was kind of my decision point, was that, you know, again, I told you I got a bachelor's in psychology. I could become a therapist by going back to school. My agency would have paid half of it. And the end result would have been a raise of about $8,000 to my paycheck. Not bad, but for roughly 2 years of schooling, and I didn't have the money to pay half of it, you know, even though my agency would pay half. The other half would have been a daunting bill for me to pay. So I was looking elsewhere, just perusing YouTube. I can't tell you where, when and how I kind of landed in trucking, but I think it was just in the back of my mind, maybe more or less fantasy, I guess. I don't think I had a real thought that this was something that would make sense for me. But I started looking at just general trucking YouTubes, you know, all companies. I think my first search was trucking companies in Richmond, Virginia. I'm from Virginia, so, and that's fairly close to me. So I don't even remember. I think in CR England, I think, came up, and a few others. But slowly but surely, after watching, more and more, I just started becoming engrossed in trucker YouTube, and more, I kept seeing prime drivers, and it just from my independent experience, I started gravitating towards prime because those YouTubers, two things. One, they tended to be more positive. They seemed to be happy in their job. The others, it was more or less complaining about their company usually. You know, I don't want to paint with too broad a brush. There was unhappy prime drivers and happy other drivers, but just in general, I seemed to just naturally gravitate to the prime channels because they just didn't seem as disgruntled as everybody else. So the second part of that, of what interests me in the ones, was the actual YouTubers themselves that I was kind of watching back then. It was a surprise to me that they were coming from similar backgrounds and had made a switch kind of in midlife crisis. I won't put words in any of their mouths, but that's what it was for me. It was, holy crap, I'm over halfway through my life, and this isn't any fun. I got to make a change. But the YouTubers, I can think of 4 of them, the ones that I was watching back then. No Hippie, which is still around. I think his background is financial, mortgage type of a background. There was, of course, back then it was Driver Lineup, but now Driveline, the channel. It's Eric Odom, who ended up being my PSD instructor. He was a documentarian before coming to Prime. And I always have trouble remembering his name. Anyway, there was another guy who he was a preacher before he came. And who was the 4th one? There was another one that I was going to say. Tim Travels, Terry from the channel Tim Travels. He was or is, I don't know if he still has his license or whatever, but was a lawyer before coming to Prime. And I think that kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting to see other people who have, arguably really good careers deciding to throw it all away and come out trucking. So that piqued my interest, and I started watching those channels and seeing that, at least at that time, all four of them were fairly happy with where they were at Prime. They were doing different things. A couple of them were doing fleet, another lease. I think one of them was teaming, like kind of doing mostly trading. But so that piqued my interest, and more. Eventually, like I said, I'm keeping this short. Eventually, I came to the decision that this might actually be for me. So at that time, when my family knew I was looking into it. I don't know if they knew how serious it was becoming. I tried to keep them informed with it, and I certainly could tell that I was becoming a little more excited about it. But when in my mind, I decided, I think this is going to be for me. I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got two kids who at that time were in high school. They're not little or anything. So I had in my mind felt, that everybody concerned should be able to handle me being alone for being away for long periods of time. But nonetheless, everybody's opinion mattered to me, and I had a family meeting, and I told all three of them, everybody has a veto vote to this. If any of the three of them said, nope, I don't think this is right for our family, I don't think I'll do well with you gone, I wouldn't have done it. I promise you, it was a family choice, and everybody, honestly, my kids are teenagers, love them to death, but I think they were completely indifferent to it. They were fine, and to this date, we love each other very much. We have a good time, but they've adjusted to this just fine, no problem. And maybe that's a little bit of a hit to the ego, but honestly, would you want it the other way? I don't want them upset every time I leave. I want them to be adjusted and fine. So that wasn't an issue. My wife, certainly there was some concern there too, that she would be, in essence, becoming a single parent most of the time. So I wanted to be sensitive to that too. So that was kind of the decision process. And I guess looking back to give some hindsight, for those of you that may be in this area where your headspace, you're not happy, but you're far enough along in a career where it's a huge choice to drop everything. I guess I can give you some advice, I guess, one way or the other. I'm not promoting Prime per se. I'll give you some information on Prime. I've been very happy with Prime. I still am. I haven't been happy with every single decision they make, but who's happy with any company to that degree? So, but overall, it's been wonderful. I really do enjoy working at Prime. But my channel is more about trucking itself. I do talk about Prime. I don't shy away from it, but I certainly don't go neck deep into the whole licensing argument. I try to stay away from that. I give you some broad feelings on it, but I have no interest in battling trolls over every, licensing is a scam. I've been doing it 4 years now, and I'm quite happy with it. So if it's a scam, it's working for me just fine. But most of them don't know what the hell they're talking about anyway. They either failed at it before, or they're just regurgitating what they hear online. So I don't pay them much mind either way. But the truth is, it doesn't really interest me that much, the financial side of it, at least for the YouTube channel. So anyway, advice. If you're thinking of coming out, I guess the first thing I would say is, like I did, consider your family. It is going to be, you're going to have a rough year. Learning these skills is not easy. It becomes easy over time, but your training time and your first year is going to be a little rough, at least a little rough. It could be very, very rough. But it becomes easier over time. But overall, your significant other, if you're married, is going to have the harder time. It's more on their shoulders than it is yours. At least it's been the case with mine. The other thing was, my children were quote unquote grown. They weren't out of high school yet, but they were older kids that could process this a little better. And I was there. I was a very hands-on dad all throughout their whole lives. And I got to experience that and enjoy that. So that would be one of my other maybe just a little cautionary. Be real careful, especially if you have little ones. I'm not saying don't do it, and it works for many people. To each their own, and I certainly am not disparaging anybody who chooses to do this. But keep in mind, you only have them little once, and that's a precious time, and I wouldn't have given that up for the world. So for me, I would never have come trucking if my kids were still very little. I waited. I was actually going to wait till after they were 18, but it kind of struck me as like, we're trying to make a little more money so we can have fun as a family. Well, why wait till the family is leaving the nest, per se, to start doing this? So that was the decision to move a little earlier. So be careful. Just be mindful that, you are giving up family time. There's this is if you're, for everything I'm talking about is OTR. You are going to be giving up significant family time. So make sure it's necessary, or at least worth it. The other thing I would say, and I've kind of seen this in some of my trainees, to me, whatever your relationships are, positive or negative, in your family and friends and everything else, that will be magnified when you come out OTR. If you have a very loving, supportive, positive relationship with your spouse or girlfriend or whatever, that will, a trusting relationship, whatever, that will magnify. In my case, all of my relationships, I believe, and I'm not going to put words in their mouth, but I think all of our relationships got stronger because of OTR, not weaker. However, if you are dealing with trust issues, or whatever, there's a negative thing going on in any relationship you have, that too will be magnified in your absence. And that is this is a difficult job if you've got a lot on your mind. So, if not impossible. So, another thing to keep in mind is, just if you're going to do this, try to get your house in order, quote unquote. Because whatever it is, especially the trust issues, I've seen that in some of my trainees. Well, at least one of my trainees had a volatile girlfriend relationship, and it became more and more volatile because of the separation. The trust got worse and worse. And not to air their dirty laundry, but just keep that in mind. Your relationships will either strengthen or get worse. They won't stay the same in OTR. As far as all the again, just trying to give advice to people that are thinking about it. I had a lot of fears back then. It was like, can I actually do this? Can I drive this an enormous vehicle through cities? I mean, I didn't like to go into cities in my car, much less, a huge vehicle like this. And I had a lot of fears regarding that kind of stuff. And I can say you can pretty much put that at rest. Just know, especially if you come to a place with Prime, it's an extensive training process. And that's tough. You're going to be living in this place with a stranger for at least 3 months if you're PSD and TNT. And that's tough even if you get along great. It's horrible if you don't. So just bear that in mind. It's difficult at first, especially the training, and then your first year, depending on how good your training was. And unfortunately, I mentioned in the last video, I think the theory behind Prime's training department is second to none. I like the idea that they want you to spend a lot of time with somebody in the passenger seat and in the truck, kind of guiding you and teaching you the job. And it's an extensive, lengthy, time-wise process. The downside, and I don't really know how, I've got a couple ideas how they could improve, but it's a tough thing. I don't even kind of blame Prime for this, but it's a roll of dice, depending on what kind of trainer you got. There's some great trainers and there's some terrible trainers. So all I can say is there is an out. If you get a horrible trainer, you can, not the easiest thing in the world, but you can ask to get switched and that kind of thing. And you may or may not get kind of taken off the truck and put back in the back of the line waiting for another trainer. So if possible, you'd want to stick with the one you've got if it's working. And again, the most important thing is that you're learning. If it's a little uncomfortable and you're not really getting along that well, if you can put your head down and keep going, as long as you're learning the job, that's going to be the best thing for you. But it's a lengthy process. And your first year, again, it depends on what kind of training you got. I don't talk a lot about my training other than it was not pleasant at all. I did learn the job mostly. I had the basics of the job down pretty well. Backing I did not. My trainer tried to teach me backing, but his methods made it worse. So I ended up in my first year, I taught myself by watching YouTube videos pretty much. And it's been a long time slowly developing those skills. I'm by no means an expert backer now, but I'm certainly average. I can get in without hitting anything. So I have no complaints here. I've come a long way. So those fears, and honestly, as talking about driving through cities and things like that, that becomes an absolute non-issue. I've said it many times. If you were to drop me in any city, but gave me the choice of driving a car or a semi, I would prefer the semi, because people get out of your way most of the time. You know, you put your blinker on, one or two cars might zip by and be more important than you, but most will defer to you and let you in. You know, on-ramps are not an issue coming on to interstates and things. Almost always people get out of your way if you can. So honestly, in a lot of ways, it's easier to drive a semi. And over time, you were always alert to the fact that you have this giant trailer. However, it becomes more like driving a car. You're aware of it, you're alert to it, but you're not fixated on it, you know, as much. You know, over time, it just becomes driving. You know, you're not so worried. You know, in the early days, it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, can't believe I'm doing this, you know, and you're worried about every little thing. You're no less alert later. I'm not saying you're less safe, but it just becomes easier. You're able to relax and still be as alert as you need to be. So the driving, any fears you have of that kind of stuff, all of that can be overcome. In my opinion, anybody can learn the skills. It's just a matter of how long it takes to do so. Over time, I'll say nearly anybody that can learn the skills. The thing that you got to focus on is lifestyle, and I don't think a lot of people do. If you're someone that needs a lot of social interaction, this is going to be a hard job for you. I'm someone who avoids social interaction as much as possible. So this is a dream job for me as far as that goes. Doesn't mean you don't miss your family. It just means solitude does me a lot of good. I don't mind solitude at all. It certainly doesn't bother me. But for some people, it's a real issue. You know, I've watched some TikToks lately. You see some new drivers on there crying. You know, they're just not used to this kind of solitude. You know, not talking to anybody for 2 or 3 days. That's a dream for me, but that's hell for other people. So if you're a super social person, it's not that you can't talk on the phone, things like that, but it's different. You know, you're going to be alone with your thoughts a whole lot, and if that scares you, be careful coming out trucking. What else would I advise? The money, just in general terms. And listen, I try to cut through the BS. There's a lot of BS on the internet, and you may find what I'm saying BS, but I don't put too much faith in any particular YouTubers or anything, including me. I don't care. There's a lot of bullshit out there, and a lot of people that think they know everything that don't. Don't be swayed by that kind of thing. The money, it kind of depends. It's all from your perspective. If you're coming to Prime or trucking, most trucking companies, and you're coming from kind of a low level, you know, whatever, McDonald's or some kind of an entry level position, the money is fantastic. I mean, if you're coming from that perspective, you're not going to want to know what to do with it all. With me, I had high hopes that trucking was going to knock me into the stratosphere financially, but my leap from what I was making before to trucking did go up. My family would say the same. Life has gotten better, but my leap was a smaller leap than someone who's coming from kind of an entry-level, lower financial situation. You know, I'm jumping from $75,000 a year, jumping into a trucking industry that's not doing so hot. There's some inklings that it looks like it might be climbing out, maybe, I hope, soon. But nonetheless, it's been an improvement. Enough where I can say that it was worth doing this. For a while, I wasn't so sure. Are we all, I mean, is my family free of, the struggle? No, we're still struggling less than we did before. But again, I think I'm in good position. If we can get this trucking industry to move around a little bit into the positive direction financially, I think we'll be doing fine. And we're doing fine now. I want to be doing better. But it was a good move for me. But yeah, so it's the perspective you're coming from. If you're not making a lot of money, no matter almost wherever you go, you're going to be making a ton more than you did before. If you're coming like me, established career, midlife type of thing, the leap is not as huge, so you don't feel it quite as much. But yeah, the struggle is real still, but it's much better. This was a smart move for me. So I think that's about all I can think of right now in the mulling it over phase, sitting on the fence. In the past, lovingly referred to a lot of my followers as fence sitters. That's a good thing. Take your time with it. This is a big decision, but don't think of it as just a big money bag. There's more to consider. That yes, there's money to be made, but make sure you can handle this lifestyle, both with your family and the separation, living at truck stops, living in this little man cave back here. I love it. I don't mind it a bit. But just think about it. Don't make it just a financial decision, because there's so much more that goes into it. A lot of people that fail, it has nothing to do with money. It's just that they can't hack it. This lifestyle is just too rough on them. So take your time with the decision. No hurry. But no, this is doable. The skills, anybody can learn them. It just some people pick it up quicker than others. It's the lifestyle that gets people. So try to make sure you can do it. Maybe move all the stuff out of a walk-in closet and live there for a month and don't talk to your family, and then you'll know if you can do this or not. So anyway, joking, of course, but so yeah, trucking is a good viable option. And like all my videos, my intent with my YouTube channel is never really to bring people trucking. It's not really to bring people to Prime, even if you decide to truck. Mine is more geared to people my age who are unhappy in whatever's going on, and getting people to take action rather than let a decade pass like I did. I knew it 10 years before this that I needed to do something, and I just kind of kept thinking, that next paycheck, that's what I need. The next paycheck, we're going to round the corner and everything's going to be a lot better. Never happened. So yeah, take some time with it and make the right choice. So this is a long-ass video, so I'm going to drop it here. Good talking to you guys today, and I hope you all are having a good one. All right, bye-bye.